Hey everyone, good evening. Hope you're able to hear me, see my screen. Alright, so this session, as you know, it's going to be the orientation session on how TCS ION test is completed and how can we make the best use of it, what are the tests, and how to go about it. That's what we're going to see. So let's get started. Now before I get started, at any point in time, if you're not able to hear me anything at all, or if you have any questions, and please type in the chat so that I know that you're here, and if there is any problem, we'll rectify it. So we'll just start in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, use your chat, and anything at all, do let me know. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the patterns, types of questions which you get, and then how to go about it. And by the end, we'll also see a couple of questions on what can you expect. Now this series is going to go for another 5 days in total. So in this class, we'll see the orientation, and the next 2 classes, we're going to solve questions on what you can expect, and then finally technical, and then closing sessions. Alright. So first, alright, hope everything works fine. Now once again, anything at all, do let me know in the chat. Any type of questions that you might have, type in the chat so that I can see and respond. Alright, cool. So first, what is so special about it, and what is this TCS ION NQT all about? Now, to take the test, registrations are open as of now, and they will end by the midnight of 8th Feb 2026, and the actual test date is going to be on 19th February, Sunday. So what is this all about, and how does this work? Now first, you must understand that there are a lot of examinations like this, which is unique to each company. Now if you look at different companies, now let's say CTS or Infosys, for example, everyone has their own test pattern on how they conduct it and how they integrate it back to the system. But if you look at TCS, one thing that is interesting is that these scores that you get, it is not just for TCS. Now once you get through it, you can also use these scores in other companies. For example, you can put it on your resume, and that shows your caliber. So this is more like oriented towards TCS, but then it could also be used for other purposes as well. So this is an integrated test pattern. So what they do is it acts like an entry-level hiring for IT and non-IT services. Alright. Now to do this, what is your test eligibility? Now in order for you to apply and take the test, you're supposed to have a minimum aggregate of 60%, or in other words 60 GPA throughout your academics. So when you apply, you have to make sure that this is done. And your specialization, it has to be UGC or AICTE recognized universities or colleges. It has to be from there. And the programs, it could be BTech, BE, MTech, ME, MCA, MSc, MS, any of these streams. So it could be any of these streams, and your qualification has to be a minimum of 60%. So that's how it is. Now there is one important aspect that which you have to understand, So in many industries, if you look at it, generally, if you look at, let's say, Infosys or CTS, now they change their patterns every year. It depends on the policies that they revise every time. Now, one important aspect is, in some cases they allow up to 2 backlogs, and that is permissible. But here in this case, they have a strict no pending backlog policy, which means at the time that you appear for the TCS selection process, even though your marks might be good, in case you have any backlog, then that's not going to work. All right. Now, any kind of extended education, for example, all the programs that you just saw, only those are allowed and nothing apart from it. And overall, academic gap should not exceed 24 months. So you could have taken a break or could have worked a maximum of 2 years, but not more than that. And in many cases, now in case you have a PG degree, sometimes you might have done using part-time courses, but only full-time courses are considered. All right. Now those with prior work experience can have a maximum of up to 2 years. You're eligible to apply, but that is only for postgraduate students. All right. Now who are all the people who can apply? Now you could be pre-final or final year, any stream or degree. Students passing between 2021 till 2027. So this is the cutoff criteria that you have. Now working professionals, you could apply, but the cap is 2 years, not more than that. Now how do you apply for it? Now this is your portal, so you can take a note of it. Now here you have steps on how to apply. So I'll just keep this page just in case if you want to try it right now, you could do it. All right. So once you get into these portals, you can find all these columns. Now once you click on it, you will see that these are the different types of portals, and you can find such portals with courses. So as you can see, so online learning courses, and again it depends on what kind of degree you have and what kind of expertise that you want to get into. So you can read all about it, and then depending on what industry you want to get into or what is valuable, you can choose. So here you can see by default you have all these practice tests, psychometric tests, online courses which you can learn, career readiness, so all sorts of different stuff packed. And then you have this cognitive with prep pack, IT, all sorts of different roles. Again, it depends on what kind of job you're looking for, and all the information is given. So for this, again, it's all up to it's all individual, so you will have to choose which works for you and which matters to you in the long run. So you can choose based on which program that you like. Now once that is done, after that okay, hi Kaushik, hi Raja. Okay, so many questions. Okay, great. I'll just answer everyone one by one. Okay, for question of Kaushik. Okay. Okay. Kaushik, in case if you have applied and if everything is done, then can process the request is usually because of a server error and because of the volume, not because of something is wrong with it. Okay, so application process, it is open to everyone. It's pretty much. Now in case if there is any error there, you'll be notified differently. So that is probably just a server error. You can try it later, no problem. Now if you followed all the steps and you've uploaded your resume and photo, then that's good. Okay, so not just you, many people would experience that problem, especially if the volume is too high. So that is not to worry. Okay, that's not a problem, Raja. So failing in higher secondary or anything, as long as you have a valid degree right now, or if you're pursuing a degree, the only thing is you must not have a backlog right now. So any type of lag up to 2 years is considered, so that's not a problem. Hope I answered both of your questions. Okay, cool. Let me know. Alright, great. Okay, so how to apply? As you can see, based on all these different types of portals and courses, you can choose which matches your specialization, and then you activate by enter your personal details, educational qualification, all same process. And then how do you want to take your exam, what type of exam, and then finally you'll declaration and submit. And then if you're going to buy a course, then you'll have to pay the amount, and then once everything is done, then you're ready for the test. Now once when the test is actually happening, so here we have all these test patterns. So as you can see, numerical ability, verbal ability, reasoning ability, and then advanced session. So this foundation is the base, and then In advanced session, you have quantitative ability, again logical, followed with advanced coding, technical questions, and that for that you're given 1.5 hours, which means 90 minutes, so you can understand the type of difficulty you might have. So this is a test pattern, and the platform is TCS ION, of course. Now, what do you get in this numerical ability? So now, before I move on any further, can you type? I just want to make sure everything is going on smooth right now. There were a couple of responses. Still okay. Just to give you an understanding of what are the types of questions you get in numerical ability. Now, numerical ability, as you can see, it is all numbers and mathematics, but still, what is this all about? So here, if you look at the questions, these are all the different topics that you can expect. Now again, it all depends on the volume and the portion of the questions, the different level of the questions. Now that would be different. So number system, LCM, HCF, all these are topics which you can expect in numerical ability, along with ages, mean, median, mode, pie chart. So most of this you might have learned in your schools itself, but then all these are multiple choice questions, 1 mark questions. And then verbal ability, your ability in English language. So sentence completion, correction, arrangements, sentences, reading comprehension, all these come under verbal ability. And then reasoning ability, which is logical thinking. So here you have word patterns, letter series, number series, arrangements, coding and decoding. So comparatively easier and fun type of questions. Alright. So now these come under basics, and if you look at advanced, again the difficulty of the questions would be higher, but again pretty much the same topics that we saw earlier, and same thing with this reasoning ability as well. So ultimately it is your problem solving skills which are tested on both these fronts, and advanced coding sessions as well. So what type of coding session? So a problem statement would be given. Now you can choose your own coding language, and these are all the languages that you can choose from. Okay, it's been silent for quite some time. Can you type which language would you prefer from these 5 languages? Alright, I'm just checking from time to time just to see if everything works. Okay, Java, okay, that's great. Okay, Rachel, yes, like I said, that is not a problem. The only rule is right now in your current degree you must not have any backlogs. So your previous school or anything doesn't matter as long as you don't have any current backlogs. Okay, so up to 2 years it's fine. Alright, moving on. Now you must understand that in all these tests there is no negative marking and you won't get any rough paper or calculator or anything. So yeah, again when you take the test it's all monitored. You're not supposed to make massive eye contacts outside, and you're not able to switch tabs as well. In case if you do that it'll automatically be closed. So again you'll not be able to revisit questions that you're already answered. Now in many cases if this is allowed, for example in IELTS exam or anything, they usually do it, but here once you're done with the question, that's it. You'll not be able to revisit again. Now what is the next step after this TCS ION NQT? Now with the marks that you have scored, this is where you can, not just for TCS, your opportunities open up and you can use this in multiple portals, multiple industries. So the score that you get is valuable not just for TCS and for other prime users as well. So that's it. This was your basic orientation of how TCS NQT series is done. Now just because it was an orientation, we'll just see some examples of how questions are asked. So next week is the next two classes. That's where you'll be taught on how to go about solving all these numerical ability, verbal ability kind of questions. But here we have some sample questions for you, basic logical reasoning. So we are moving on to solving questions. Now for each question, now since this is just an orientation, you can take your time. We'll just solve some problems. I have some questions for you and then we can wind up. In the meantime, in case you have any questions regarding anything, you can let me know. And right now let's do a sample question. So these questions come under logical reasoning. So yes, we can do some couple of questions, and then from the next class onwards the entire session will be focused on numerical, verbal and logical reasoning. Alright, so here just to give you an intro, we have some questions for you. So let's do it. Now for each question I'll give you some time. Let me know your answers in the chat and we'll go about it. Alright, time's up. So we got some answers. Okay, let's see if you're right. So first, how do we approach these kind of problems? So as you can see from the word and whatever is changed, you can see that it is just the next letter of it. So by the same logic, when I do write the next letters of whatever is given, I would get the answer as option A. Okay, this was pretty easy. Now let's do some complex questions. Okay, this can be time consuming, but anyway, no problem. Let's do it. Now once you got your answers, let me know in the chat, or if you're not able to do it, if you want me to explain, let me know. Alright, time's up. So let's see how this works. Okay, not a lot of answers. So this could be difficult, but anyway, let's understand how this works. So first, if you take the word test and if you analyze the pattern, you will see that in the alphabetical order, U is the next letter of T, whereas H is 3 letters after E. So plus 5 plus 7, that's how you find the pattern. Now once a pattern is obtained, then it will be easy. Now the question is which word will be coded as. They have already given us the answer. We have to find the question. So we have to reverse. So the reverse of all these values will get us the answer as mark. So it's option C. Alright, good job. Now regardless of the difficulty of questions, you pretty much get an average of just 1 minute for a question, remember that. Okay, next one. Alright, time's up. So here if you look at this is like series. Again you will see a pattern happening, and then we have to find what happens after. So 121, 225, 361, what is common among all these numbers? So if you look at 121, these are nothing but squares with a difference of 4. So 11 square, 15 square, 19 square, so logically the next number should be 23 square, which is 529. Alright. Alright, cool, good job. Moving on. Alright, this is easy. You don't need much time. Now in case if I reveal all the answers just like that, it will sound very easy, but only when you do it you will get all sorts of doubts. We are learning as we do it. Alright, DDA, ADD, RRB, as you can see, this is just the mirror image. Now here, this is more of analogy. So first two words, they are related. By applying the same logic, we have to find what is the fourth one. So RRB, you can see that this is just the mirror image, so it should be BRR. Fine. Alright, moving on. Okay, this is an interesting question. Let's do it. Alright, on first glance, it might seem that the answer is either D, E or F because of the gap of 2, but it's more complicated than that because of the options. We don't see an E or an F. So the next first one, as you can see, B and D. So the second alphabet, and instead of plus 2 or into 2, we can do square. And by the same logic, C is 3, so 3 square would be 9, and we know that the ninth letter is I. So which is why answer is A. So it's supposed to be I. Alright. So it's the square, that's the pattern. Now there could be multiple answers, but it all depends on what kind of options we have, and that's what we should pick. So it's I. Alright, moving on. Alright, time's up. So let's see how this works. So as you can see, first we have to find the relation between 6 and 222, and then we have to apply the same relation with 7. So 6 cube plus 6 would give us 222. So likewise 7 cube plus 7 will give us 350. So this is the pattern, that's the relation. So by this we can see that the answer is option D. Alright. Okay, so this comes under visual reasoning, but anyway, this first one is pretty easy to do. Okay, let me know the answer. Alright, time's up. So as you can see, from the starting block to the ending block, we have lots of images, and we have to pick the one which is an odd block. So first, if you look at it, we can see that out of all the divided parts, we have a shaded part which moves in clockwise direction, and then lines which moves in anti-clockwise. So based on this, if you look at it, only in option E we can see that the shaded part violates the pattern, which is supposed to move only one part. So which is why the answer is E. Okay. Okay, questions like this can be the most challenging out of everything. So based on the first two diagrams, you'll have to figure out what the fourth one would be. Okay, can be a bit challenging anyway. You can think, analyze, let me know the answer in the chat. Alright, time's up. So here we have multiple options on whether it is D or E. Okay, it's cool. Now remember, whenever you have analogy and then you have visual reasoning patterns like this, first what you have to do is understand the symbols. So usually it has to do with the placement of symbols. So here if you look at the first box, you can see the top right you have a star, and then on the second box you can see the top right star comes to the bottom left, and then you can see that in the third box you have a square, so that is supposed to come to the bottom, and then there you need to have a new symbol, so triangle. So based on this, the right answer would be B. Alright, so you look at this, a star at the top, a star at the bottom, and instead of the star there is a new symbol. So likewise here you have a square at the top, at the bottom you're supposed to have a square. So bottom square is present only in A and B, so I can eliminate C, D and E. Now I can eliminate A also because in the place of that star there is a new symbol. So in the place of the square we need a new symbol. Now this triangle is a new symbol. This arrow mark is not a new symbol, it is already there. So which is why option A is also eliminated. The answer is option B. Hope you got it. Okay, moving on. Let's do some more problems of different types. Okay, moving on. Alright, let's see how to do this. So same thing, if you look at the problem figures, in each box we have multiple figures, one inside the other. So the first one has triangle, square, and then a pentagon, and then you have hexagon, pentagon, and then a square. So as you can see, the number of lines reduces by 1 as we go further. So by this logic we can see that the only option that follows this is given in option E. So which is why E is our answer. Alright, moving on, next one. Alright, time's up. So if you look at it, this is kind of easy. You can see that the ball is supposed to rotate anti-clockwise, but after D you can see that it starts rotating clockwise. So that is what is wrong in this pattern. So which means our answer is E. Alright, let's do some more questions before we wind up. Alright, time's up. Now if you look at it, this doesn't have a pattern. It is just that we have to map the letters with the numbers that are given, and with that, if you have to write the numbers for search, that would be 214673, which is exactly the second option. So pretty easy. Alright, moving on, next one. Alright, time's up. So here if you look at all the numbers, we can see that based on what they have given, if you have to map the numbers with the letters, so D and P M, that is the order we are supposed to get. So C would be the right answer. Again, very easy, we just have to map the numbers with the letters. Okay, moving on. Okay, this is very interesting, kind of hard to figure it out. Let's see if we can do it. Very time consuming even. No problem. You can try. Alright, let's see how to do this. Not a lot of answers. Now here, if you generally look at it, it will be hard for us to find the pattern, but it's actually reversed. So we have to look at the diagonal opposites. So if you look at it, the previous letter of P would be O, but that is written reverse. So likewise O, W, E and R. So if you do the same thing to EZ, previous letter of E, you will see that it's D, Y, P and U. So it is -1, -2, -3. So that is the pattern. Now if you apply the same and then reverse it, that's how you're supposed to get the answer. So kind of hard, it's understandable that no one got it, but anyway, so it's supposed to be D. Alright, so look at the pattern once again, see if you understand. So the right answer here is option D. Alright, moving on. Right, time's up. So this is more of encoded question. If white is blue, blue is black, black is orange, orange is apple, then what is the color of sky? So it might seem confusing and it kind of takes us on a loop, but what is the color of sky? The sky's color is blue. Now here, according to this question, blue is black, and that's it. We should not connect black with orange and so on. So blue is black, so the answer as per the question would be black. Alright. Alright, next one. Alright, next one. If you look at all these letters and numbers, again, it is just mapping the words with the numbers. We've already did this earlier, so same thing. 9, 7, 2, 3, 4, pretty easy. Alright, so next one. Number series, we have to find the middle. Okay, let's do it. Alright, so let's see how to do this. So first two numbers, as we can see, 11, 10, and then it goes on like this. So as you can see, the difference between the numbers is just 1, and then if you look at the fifth and sixth number, again the difference is 1. So by that logic, here the previous number should be a difference of 1. So that's why it's supposed to be 101, which is option A. Alright, that's it. We have pretty much covered all the questions. So in case you have any doubts regarding any question we have discussed so far, the remaining time is just for clearing doubts. So in case you have any questions regarding anything, you could ask. So the last 10 minutes is for doubts. So to type your comments, in case if there's anything that is yet to be discussed, or if you have questions, I'll address. If not, we are done. I'll see you in the next class. Right.